Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Microphone test 2, microphone test 2. That one's over there.
You're supposed to be able to see like
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
There, okay, that's
Okay,
Yep.
we're just Good evening. The time now is exactly 7 o'clock. The Wayzata Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting for July 8th, 2024 will please come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Heidi Cater. Here. Sheila Pryor. Here. Sarah Johansson.
Here.
Paris Bende.
Here.
Valentina Ayers.
Here.
Dan Ginestra.
Here.
Milan Sahoni.
Present.
Chase Anderson.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Welcome everyone to the second meeting of this summer. Hope your summer is going well and you had a good 4th of July week or / weekend. If you wish to speak during the audience opportunity to address the board, please fill out a form placed at the back of the room and hand it over to our district admin assistant, Amy, sitting to my right. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda and the consent agenda items. Consent agenda items are considered routine in nature and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a board member or a citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed as a consent agenda item and addressed. The consent agenda items are listed in the materials. The recommended action is to approve the agenda and the consent agenda items. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Will the clerk please make a roll call vote, please? Yeah.
Sheila Pryor. Yes. Heidi Cater.
Yes.
Valentina Ayers.
I want to double check. I would like to discuss one of the items, so will I have an opportunity a little bit later?
Director Ayers, I think we cannot add one. If you want to change an item, we can. At this point, I will not. You want to add an item?
Not changing, discussing one of the item.
We will have to remove that. We cannot discuss this while the agenda item and the consent agenda is being voted on. If you would like to remove that to be discussed later or in another future meeting, we can do that. Would you like to do that?
Sorry, just a minute. I wanted to double check. I wanted to discuss about an approval with an affiliated salary schedule.
I'm sorry, can you speak up a little bit?
I wanted to discuss to be able to ask questions about unaffiliated salary schedule.
Unaffiliated comes later in the agenda. At that point, you can certainly discuss. You can definitely ask
Thank you.
questions and discuss. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, then.
Valentina Ayers is voting yes.
Yep.
Dan Ginestra.
Yes.
Sarah Johansson.
Yes.
Paris Bende.
Yes.
Milan Sahoni.
Yes. Thank you. We have an agenda. All right. Next item would have been the Wayzata High School student representative report. We have none tonight. And so we move on to the next item, which is recognitions. I will now join Dr. Anderson at the podium.
Good evening and welcome, everybody. It's always my honor at our school board meetings to present the employees of the month. And we have two this month, and I'd like to invite them forward. They are Lisa Hess and Melanie Nolting. Congratulations. Welcome. I'm going to share a brief script of recognition that was submitted on their behalf for their nomination, and then give them an opportunity to make a few comments if they'd like. Did you know you were going to have that opportunity? All right. It's optional. And you can wing it if you want, but anyway. So I'll share the following, and we're always so pleased and happy to highlight and honor our employees. The Early Learning School is pleased to honor two staff members as the July Employees of the Month. Lisa Hess is one of our Employees of the Month. Lisa's presence in our classrooms, both as an early childhood family education paraprofessional and as a preschool assistant, is nothing short of magical. Her joy and enthusiasm create a vibrant learning environment where children thrive and feel valued. With her exceptional creativity, problem-solving skills, and unwavering dedication, Lisa goes above and beyond to ensure every child's experience is both fun and enriching. Her genuine love for our students and their families, paired with her collaborative spirit and tireless commitment, makes her a true asset to our team. We are incredibly lucky to have Lisa as part of the Early Learning School. Her humor, integrity, and passion for excellence continue to inspire us all. Congratulations, Lisa. Thank you for all that you do. And we'll give her a round of applause before I read the next one. Next is Melanie Nolting, also one of our Employees of the Month. Melanie is an outstanding early childhood special education teacher whose dedication and expertise shine brightly in our school community. She consistently goes above and beyond to support our students and staff, always meeting each child where they are in their learning journey. Her positive attitude and unwavering willingness to find solutions make her an invaluable asset to our team. Melanie's ability to juggle multiple tasks and provide excellent classroom support and advice to her colleagues is truly commendable. Her informative trainings and continuous support make a significant impact on both our students and our staff. Thank you, Melanie, for all that you do. Your hard work and dedication do not go unnoticed. Congratulations.
I just have loved working for the district over all these years, and it's a pleasure to work with these great students we have and work with the families. Very professional. They look great. Thank you very much.
Congratulations to the honorees, and thank you, Dr. Anderson. All right, and now we move on to the highlight of our regular meetings, the school spotlight presentations. Tonight, the spotlight is on the Early Learning School, commonly known as ELS, and I will turn it over to Executive Director of Teaching and Learning, Dana Miller.
Thank you, Director Mahoney. Good evening. Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Anderson. It is my pleasure tonight to welcome Michelle Bedore, Director of the Early Learning School, and her staff. They're here tonight to do a recap of all the hard work they've been doing around using data to drive their building goals and the results they've been getting with that, and then as well what they're planning to do forward. And I've had the pleasure of attending their building leadership team member meetings and been very impressed with the work that they're doing in this area. So I think it will be exciting to discuss their progress and where they're headed from there. So thank you, Michelle and team, for being here tonight.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate the board inviting us in for this. I have two of my three colleagues. One had to leave for a family emergency, so we'll just cover her slides, no big deal. But Laura and Lisa and Jessica are my three early learning managers, and they're here with me today. So we will get started. We're going to skip our slides on Lisa and Melanie because they already did the introductions. We just weren't sure how that was going to go. So thank you, ladies, for being here. They were voted by their colleagues, just for the record. The wheel you have seen before. This is the community education wheel. And we just wanted to put a spotlight on the lower bottom portion of Early Learning School. We reside within the community ed department, but we have a strong collaborative partnership with many district divisions and parts of the district. So not only are we collaborating with our colleagues in Wayzata Kids and before and after school classes, but also, like Dana said, teaching and learning and equity and inclusion. We have a strong partnership with special education since I am split between the two. And then our building principals are hosting our full-day preschool in their elementary sites, so we have a connection with them. And then we have a strong connection with our partners at IOCP and Caring for Kids and the scholarships that they help provide to our youngest learners. So we just wanted to take a minute to kind of call out those partnerships. So early learning school by the numbers is what I call this slide. I gave you the 23-24 enrollment and then some projections for 24-25. You can see the different programs located at the early learning school and in our 9 elementaries. We have and will have 198 full-day preschoolers in the 9 elementaries. We have had this year about 448 part and school day preschool. So those are part day means they come half the day. School day means they come the school day, 8 to 2. And then for next year, we're sitting at about 359 students. We still have some afternoon spots available, and some of our early childhood special ed students haven't yet completed that registration process. So we will get there. The 269 of the early childhood special ed students, some of those are counted in the 3 to 5 numbers for part day preschool. So they're doubly counted in that section. We had 279 enrollments and participants in ECFE, family education. And then we had 28 families attend our outreach classes, and we did 42 home visits. We screened 886 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, so that's a big number. And then this summer, we are running a program, a couple programs. Rising K's is our summer preschool for full-day kiddos. We have 118 kids there. Laura's going to talk about that in a little bit. And then we have part-day preschool that just started this week, and ECFE that started a couple weeks ago. Yep. So those are our programs that we've been running. We don't have any numbers for next year because those haven't happened yet for those last 2. But our early learning staff, so we wouldn't be here without them. They are the cornerstone of everything we do, so we wanted to put them front and center. We have been asking them along the way if they feel a sense of belonging. You'll notice a couple different numbers. It depends on if we ask them if they belong to their team or if they belong to early learning school. And so that's an initiative we started this year, was building that sense of belonging, and we're going to keep on working on that next year. But really, you can see we have 129 staff members across all different types of roles. I won't read them to you. So Dana talked a little bit about our building instructional leadership team. We started that process last year in August, and we set 3 goals for the school year. The first 2 are really about our teaching strategies gold data. We wanted to show a change over time from not meeting age expectations to meeting age expectations. And there are 4 objectives. I won't go through them here because they're coming up on slides. And then the last goal was really that sense of belonging, and we wanted to measure that with staff and with families. So we'll talk about that as we go. So in the next 4 slides, you'll see those 4 areas of teaching strategies gold that we targeted. They run the same kind of way. On the left-hand side is our 3-year-olds, and on the right-hand side is our 4-year-olds. And the Wayzata blue is fall or mid-year data, and the gold of Wayzata is spring or end-of-year data. What we want to see is that first bar to go down. Those are the students who are not meeting age expectations or below the target. So we want that to go down, and then the next 2 boxes to go up. So the students who are meeting age expectations or exceeding age expectations. So this first one is really around interacting with peers. The next one is about solving social emotional problems. Again, we're seeing that first box go down somewhat significantly for our 4-year-olds, which is great to see. And then those next 2 boxes, the middle one going up, the exceeding standards or above target is about the same. So that's about what we want to see. And then those are 2 of our social emotional goals. And then we had 2 in the areas of language and literacy. And so we really focused on expanding our expressive vocabulary, using our words. And you can see the same sorts of things. In the 3-year-olds, you'll see that there was a pretty significant increase in above the target, which we'd like to see. And interestingly enough, it dipped a little bit at the target, but that's great because it just means more kids were exceeding than meeting. So in that case, that middle box went down a little bit, but it went up on the right side of things. And then on the 4-year-old class, it went up in the middle box. The last one is really teaching children to engage in conversations, 10A. In this one, we do see a little bit of an increase in the 3-year-old in that first box of below target. We did have 30 more kids in that collection than we did in this. We had 30 more in the spring than we did in the fall. And that little bit of a jump equaled 4 kids. So we had 4 more kiddos below the target in that one. But it's something we work on. It's probably one of the harder ones for our little 3-year-olds. But again, we are seeing some significant increases in that above the target, which is what we want to see. So all of our staff really spent the year targeting these 4 objectives and collecting data monthly to look at who were their students that were performing below target, what were using their PLC to design instruction for those students that were below target, and then really keeping good track of them. So that's our data. We're pretty excited about it. We're going to do another look at it in the summer during our Built Institute and really think about, where are the areas where we might want to focus next year. For the first time, we had our data loaded into the system with some additional identifiers for race, ethnicity, home language, and IEP status. So this will be the first year we can look at those subset groups and see how they're doing. So that's on target for this summer, and I will pass it off to Lisa.
Yay. Hi, I'm Lisa Stankowitz, Early Learning Manager. Okay,
I can
do I have to do it again? So I'm going to talk a little bit about our ECFE program, which is education. As you guys know, this is very specific to Minnesota, this program, and it's a wonderful program designed to provide support to families, enhance parenting skills, and really get our littlest learners ready for school. We focus on helping parents, and our classes always have a parent education component to them, child education component, and really focuses in on those social emotional skills for kiddos. What else? The goal of our program is to foster strong family relationships, which we pride ourselves on very much at Early Learning, and ensure children have a solid foundation for future learning and development. Tuition is based on a sliding fee scale, so we never say no to families. We want everybody to have access to this program, so we never turn anyone away. In addition to our ECFE classes at the Early Learning School, our parent educators do home visits for families looking for that more individualized support. When we surveyed our ECFE families at the end of the school year, 91% said that they feel a connection and a sense of people. So I think it's really rare that our ECFE families don't feel that. It's just a wonderful program. All right, next slide. So kind of hand in hand with ECFE is our community outreach team. We do ECFE classes out in the community because we know transportation can be a barrier for some families, and we really want all families to have access to these programs. So we do have a team that goes out into the community. We do ECFE classes at community apartment complexes, housing communities in the district. We do Connect and Plays, and they also do home visits, our outreach team. And then we also do our early childhood screenings out in the community. So this past year, we did 136 early childhood screenings, either at local daycare centers or at living communities. So that's good. And then this year, we had a new position in our outreach team, our outreach co-teacher, which is A&I funded this position, and she is amazing. And she works with I see Sarah saying she's amazing. She'll go to local daycares and work side by side with the teachers there to make sure that those kiddos are getting the high quality instruction that they're getting at the Early Learning School. So while not everybody can come to the Early Learning School, at least our teachers out there spreading their knowledge to local teachers as well. What else?
I think she worked with 7 community child care centers this year.
this year.
And
Yeah,
she has 10 on her list, so 3 she's going to work with next year.
she's in demand. She's got
Very
lists
in demand.
of people waiting to work with her. And we held 64 ECFE and Connect and Play classes in the community this past year.
Ready?
I'm ready. So this is Connect at 3, which is an initiative that we started this year. In 2023, we launched it as a way to make sure that families are getting the support they need from the time their child turns 3. So early childhood screening can begin at the age of 3, and we really encourage families to get in early and get their children screened at 3 before kindergarten entrance, to get any services that they might need early, rather than waiting until right before kindergarten. So what Connect at 3 does is, so families would sign up, receive a Connect at 3 email, and then we would send them information about community ed classes, things that are going on in the community, learning events, maybe just child development topics of interest that parents might have with 3-year-olds. It's free. And then we would also send them information about registration for preschool, things that they might not get otherwise. So really wanted to kind of build a community early on for these families. We really wanted to target 3-year-olds. And then this year, 36% of the children we screened were 3 years old. So we're going to continue targeting those 3 years old and hopefully get that number up even higher. I don't know if we said this already. We did 886 early childhood screenings this past year. And what else? I think that's it. Connect at 3.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Jessica was going to do our preschool, so I'll cover that for her. But our early learning preschool is 4-star Parent Aware rated. And really, we operate out of 10 different locations, so the early learning school and our 9 elementaries. The focus of this program is really to provide a safe environment where children can learn to interact with each other, explore, solve problems, solve social problems, sort of navigate that, newly being with other kiddos. So we use the early childhood standards to plan. We use the creative curriculum and Teaching Strategies Gold, which you saw. And then we have a bunch of professional development opportunities for our staff. We enroll students from all backgrounds and all income levels. We have scholarships available. I think I mentioned our partners at IOCP and Caring for Kids. Really, we have focused their dollars on our 2-year-olds who we can't use any other state scholarship for. And it's been a huge bonus for our littles to be able to start school early. So that's been great. We work on building those relationships with families, helping them feel like they belong to not just early learning school, but Wayzata Public Schools, and that they're a part of the district. We help them navigate when they have concerns. Comes up quite a bit. We partner with Adult Basic Ed and provide either preschool or childcare to adults learning English. And then throughout the year, we collaborate with early childhood special ed. We're kind of interwoven as much as we can be, but we also have district nurses and Wayzata Kids, Wayzata Cafes, just to name a few. So along with our advisory council, we really have a ton of parent involvement and do some fun activities during the school year. So Laura's going to talk about Rising K's.
Hi everyone, I'm Laura Pontsworth, Early Learning Manager. So Rising K's is a new program that we started this summer. So we currently have 23 staff members, all of which are school year teachers and assistants. We have 118 students that were registered, and 83% of those students attended a school year program. It's just been a really nice program to have all of our teachers from full day in one building, and we've heard many comments throughout the summer from them. We're about halfway through now. They're like, it's just nice to be able to collaborate with one another and just to have a program focused specifically on this one age group. So it's mirrored very closely to how Wayzata Kids runs their summer program. About, I would say, half the day is kind of like your traditional preschool class, and then towards the end of the day in the afternoon, they get more of that choice time option where they get to rotate through different activities, different classrooms, have more of that free choice. Here are some pictures of them just doing some fun things and getting outside as much as we can. It's been tough with a lot of rainy days at the start of the summer, but we're hoping that with some in-house field trips we have coming up that we'll have a lot more fun pictures to share. And this is just a quote that we have from one of our preschool assistants that has worked with the district for 24 years and has said it's the best summer so far.
And next week, we have the llamas coming. so-
This Friday.
This Friday?
This Friday.
Llamas are coming. So, thank you, Laura. So, early learning initiatives, you may have heard me talk about these before, but we do have 3 key initiatives that we've been working on. The first one is classroom engagement model. In the classroom engagement model, we work to ensure that every child is engaged in learning. I say almost all, we have a few new staff that have not been trained, but all of our staff, to the most part, have been trained by the wonderful Melanie Nolting behind me. And we have 15 classrooms that we coached this year. So Melanie does the training, and then we have a cadre of coaches that go in, and we coach to the fidelity of the observation tool. And 12 of the 15 met fidelity in the first year, which is amazing. So we have wonderful staff. The pyramid model is something that's been in Wayzata forever and ever. It's sort of the companion to, oh, now I totally blanked. PBIS, thank you, but in my opinion, done much better. It focuses on classroom practices to help children learn to navigate social emotional skills and development, and we've been doing that for a really long time. And then the last one, evidence-based quality intervention practices, is really around our birth to 3 home intervention staff. We call it EQUIP, and we have 4 staff that have been trained and coached in EQUIP, and 3 out of the 4 met fidelity this year. So we're super excited about that. All considered best practices in early childhood through the state of Minnesota. So we're super excited about that. I'm sure you probably have all heard that the READ Act is coming to early learning. It's rare that MDE includes early learning in part of these things, so we're kind of excited actually. But we've been working with our partners in teaching and learning to really digest and understand what it all means. So thank you to Dana and Abby and Austin, and they've been kind of feeding me information. We have a schedule. We think it's going to work. We will be training our staff up to 43 hours of training next year. We have all the books. They're sitting in my office. They're ready to go. We'll roster everybody into Lexia. They'll provide the asynchronous learning, and then we'll have 2 7-hour days where we're live online with the Lexia trainer. So we have to pass with 80%. So fingers crossed, all of us get the material and pass the tests so we can be quality early learners. But we've looked at some of the materials and we're really excited about what it has to offer. And Lexia was the only one offering specific training for early childhood teachers, and so that's why we went with it. Really excited. Lastly, we want to say thank you. So thank you to the school board for having us today. Thank you to all of our colleagues for collaboration and inclusion. Thank you to our early learning staff who play a vital role. Thank you to the families who trust us with their kids. And then since we didn't think it was wise to bring you 4-year-olds, we brought you a video of the children saying thank you. I know other schools bring their littles, but here you go. This is our little people. It's going to get stuck in your head all day. What? Don't you laugh.
It is my great honor to introduce to you today our graduating class. As they turn the page to the next chapter of their lives, they'd like to say something very special to you. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 little words, 2 little words, 2 little words, not goodbye. At the end of the year, graduation is here. Our 2 little words, teachers want that printer
Cuties.
Now you know what it's like in our classrooms. Sometimes you just got to bust a move. So thank you. I don't know if there's any questions
Yeah.
about what we presented or.
Yes, I'm sure there are questions. Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, managers. I hope the manager that had to leave for family emergency has to be able to take care of that. So thank you so much. Board colleagues, any questions?
Yeah, I have few.
Yeah, go ahead.
First, thank you so much. It would have been really nice to have them here in person, but thank you for sharing that video.
They would have been running all over.
Yeah. So I have a few questions. So I'll combine first two together. So when we looked at numbers 23, 24 versus 24, 25, there is a sort of reduction in enrollment. Is that because just the nature of demographics, or there is also that bar that says, scholarship available, right?
Yep.
So is that the factor? Maybe not everybody gets scholarship. That's why people are not able to enroll, or is it just?
Well, I think this is, if I compared this year's numbers to last year's numbers, it's pretty typical. If
Okay.
we're going to get a rush here in July and August where parents are like, oh my goodness, preschool, I kind of forgot about that. So I anticipate we'll be, at that 449 or ish. And we will still enroll kids in September, October, November. So we're almost enrolling all the time. And with our early childhood special ed students, when they qualify for service, if they need a preschool spot, we have some reserved. So some of that is reserved. We reserve spots for scholarships. We reserve spots that we know will fill, but we just haven't yet. So I'm not concerned about the numbers. We do have scholarship money, so if there is kids out there, Chase is going to roll his eyes, but transportation can be a barrier. So we're working on that.
Okay, great. That was my second question. We don't turn students because of scholarships, right? Meaning we have money, if you
We
will.
have not turned anybody down in my 2 years I've been here.
Okay.
So we do have dollars to spend on that. And I think, more is that our classes get full rather than our dollars are gone.
Okay, makes sense. So my next question is, again, I'll combine two together.
Yeah.
With home visits, right? What is the criteria usually? Like, do you spot it where to go, or do you collaborate with other community members? How do we know which homes to visit to begin with?
Yeah.
And then one thing which at least I didn't catch anywhere, you talked about special ed, right? I mean, obviously that's part of it too.
Yep.
I didn't see anything specific called out for special ed. So is there anything in that program that you would want to call out, or?
Yep. So they were called out on the numbers part of the program for early childhood special ed. We do have 269 students on IFSPs and IEPs. And those programs are really interwoven with all of our other work in preschool and home visiting. And so the home visiting question, though, there's a couple different ways that happens. Every month we get HUG data from the county that tells us who's been born in our district. And then we send them a card that says, welcome to Wayzata. We'd love to do a visit. Here's how you can sign up. And then we also have parents that just call us and say, I'm worried about this. My kids are not playing nicely together, or my child isn't potty trained yet and I'm worried about that. And then we'll do a visit for that. So it doesn't just have to be a newborn visit. It could be that. And then in early childhood special ed, we have a intake coordinator, Greta, fantastic. She did about 400 to 500 intakes for early childhood special ed. And in that case, she would set up a home visit or an intake visit for anyone who has a developmental concern.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And the last question is the graphs, how do we read it? So when you look at one graph, we have at target, under and above, right?
Yep.
And the blue one is the winter, and
Yep.
then the gold one is the spring.
Yep.
So we should see, how do I say, okay, we are on track? I couldn't follow how to read those
Yep.
graphs.
So I can speak to that. So this is the graph. So in this box says below the target. This is at their age target, and this one is exceeding their
Exceeding.
age target.
Yep.
So if this blue graph is taller than this one, and this one is, so we want these two to go up,
Oh, got it.
and this one to go down. And in this case, the one I'm pointing to, this one went down, the yellow went down, but this one went significantly up. So more kids moved from meeting age expectations to exceeding.
Okay, perfect. And then
The two are 3-year-olds and
more
4-year-olds, different age groups.
Different age group.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yes, well, go ahead.
Good questions.
I just want to make comments. As an immigrant, I attended USCFA classes, and I learned actually lots of information as a parent. Things I didn't know about dentists, about our teeth. I use it with my kids, and now at school I'm also saying about danger. I mean, if you want to keep your teeth, you don't want to drink juice from straw, and I am able to explain why, because ECFE was inviting somebody from like dentist office, and they were explaining. So that kind of parts I learned, and it is very useful. I didn't get that kind of care, but I would like obviously my kids to get the better care, and then I can share with other kids. The second one, it's peppermint fence. Used to be, obviously we joined Wayzata when it was used to be peppermint fence. It was interesting. Even though my neighbor said you need to log in like 7:55, I was able to put credit card information because I was nervous at 8:05. I got my second choice. I was, wow. I was amazed how popular this program. And then I saw that it is nice. It is hard sometimes to deal with your own kids. They don't want to listen to you. But when you have a chance to send, they learn some skills, some especially small motor skills, then based on that, you can start working on that. And I like that you trying to take from the whole community, even if some people cannot afford, you are making it affordable so that these kids, especially I suspect these kids need some more boost, and you are doing it. I've seen it in the past, and obviously you are doing it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, ECFE is very valuable, and we still are competitive with our registration. Lisa processed the full day ones, and it was full by 8:06, so.
I made a lot of people cry
Yeah.
when they didn't get in. Yeah, they couldn't fathom that they got in at registered at 8:05 and things were full. So
It's a testament to our good programming. We still have part day options, but the full day goes really fast.
First of all, I want to say thank you for coming. I love hearing about our early childhood learning because I know what it does for kids is incredible throughout the rest of their educational career. Getting that early love of learning is really important, and having that confidence to be able to know that I can solve my problems and I can communicate clearly. That's really, really incredible. And for parents to be able to see that growth in their students too is, the change from fall to spring is really incredible. So thank you for doing all that work. I do have a follow-up question. How are we doing on space from your perspective? I mean, I hear that our classes are filling up quickly. How's the space going?
The space is going okay. We booted out our friends upstairs. We love you guys, but and so we are in the midst of some revitalization of the upstairs and making some decisions about that. We moved all of the adults that were officing on the main floor up, or we are moving them. Their stuff is upstairs, but they don't have cubicles yet. But that was one thing that we repurposed one of the spaces upstairs for adults and made another classroom downstairs because we would really rather have little people on the main floor and big people upstairs. So that's one. And then we are in the midst of like that planning stages of what would it look like if we add more classrooms upstairs. We want to be thoughtful and not do that too quickly because we can fill slowly. We won't fill 6 more classrooms. I mean, if we did full day at the elementaries, we'd fill 6 more classrooms. But at the early learning school, we'll do it slowly. And we need to think about parking. And we need to think, because that's one of our chief complaints is parking is very tight. So, and then just logistics of getting more families in and out of the doors, the front doors. So logistics is always a problem, but we're working on it.
Working on it is a good thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, friends. It is lovely to see you, and we so appreciate the partnership. I want to underscore a couple of things as we've talked about wanting to make sure that we include each and every child and make sure that we reach and we have our logisticals of the parking and the access and all the things. And so it's exciting to hear that there's a continued effort for transportation. We know our kiddos that are isolated due to a lack of transportation could use our classes more than anyone else. So thank you for your persistence in that piece of it. Another thing that I just want to highlight and say thank you for is the commitment that you make to our community to making sure that all kids in our community feel connected to the district. I think that level of Connect at 3, in addition to accessing developmental age screening, just feeling like a part of the district. And then for our kiddos that might be special education but are not at the early learning school, and so they're going to one of our other child care centers, the level of support that you give to our kiddos to either be bused for half days, to be where they are, or to have that outreach. The outreach co-teacher this year with the A&I funds has really been a game changer in increasing the level of excellence and making sure that all kids have that. And so I know that was a lot, and it worked really well too when we had new to country families and making that connection too. That's a whole nother thing that happened this past year. So thank you for your commitment to our entire community, both those that are in the walls of the early learning school and those that will be coming to the district when they turn 5.
It's our passion. You know, we think we have about 38 to 40% of the district kids coming to us, the 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, but there's 60% out there, and they're all headed to kindergarten and district schools. So that was part of the outreach co-teacher, was really to get into all the places where the kiddos are that we are not. And our outreach team has done a great job, including that co-teacher. She's just fantastic. Can't tell you how many times I've seen her laminating and bringing materials and talking to people and coaching teachers and really just teaching alongside. So we picked a good one.
The whole team, right? That outreach team. Is
The whole outreach team is fantastic.
amazing. Yep. So thank you to them.
Yep.
Thank you again for that presentation, and I appreciate everything that you're doing for the community, for the kids, and for the district overall. I have actually 3 questions. One is an extension of Paras's question. The enrollment, do you keep track of what the numbers were last year at this time?
Mm-hmm.
So do they look similar?
They do look very similar, yes.
Okay.
I would say we have 1 or 2 classrooms that have changed configurations. So instead of a 3-day class, it's now a 4 or 5-day class. So that changes a little bit of the numbers. So I wouldn't say we're going to hit exactly the same enrollment, but it's close. And
Sure.
we think that having kids come more often with more intensity matters.
So that would be comforting, right, to know that they're about the same as last year at this time. Good. So I think it's slide 13, I believe. I don't know if the slide numbers have changed, but the slide has some things talking about the sliding fee scale for ECFE.
Mm-hmm.
So can you explain what that is, a sliding fee scale?
Yeah, so our ECFE classes, they're tuition-based generally, but depending on what the family's income is how much they pay. So if their income is like under, I'm just gonna pick a number, $13,000, it's free. And then it just goes up based on the income level. However, we would never turn anyone away from an ECFE class.
So they self-select when they register which income bracket best describes their family, and it talks about income and how many people, and then they choose what works for them. And there's no checks and balances, they just get to pick. And then we get ECFE funding from the state of Minnesota to offset the cost.
Yep. Very good. Thank you. That speaks a lot for equity. I think that's inclusion, equity, all of that combined. Great. And then the last question I have is, you had 3 models up there: the engagement model, the pyramid model, and the evidence-based intervention. Do they have any connection? Is there a way to determine which model works the best or no? in terms of results?
They're all so good and they all focus on something different that I think having all three is key. So they're all nationally sponsored. One is from the University of South Florida. One is from Robin McWilliams in North Carolina. So they're pretty renowned initiatives that we're doing that at one point were sponsored by the state of Minnesota. We just ended our EQUIP JPA, or Joint Powers Agreement, which gave us money to make sure our teachers were trained. So they all really have a different nuance and a different importance, but I think they're all three important.
Okay, thank you. And that's all the questions I have, unless, yes.
I have one hypothetical scenario based on what you just said. So 38% of students, they come through early childhood. So hypothetically, if, and again, going back to her question or comment, not everybody gets in, right? Because the spots get filled quickly. How scalable the model is. So tomorrow, let's say, suddenly we get 60% of our population, they want to enroll in early childhood education. Can we even scale it up? Or we just want to stay at 38 to 40% and that's it?
What did you say, Chase? I think there's a number of factors that we would need to consider to scale up. So we'd have to find staff.
Yep.
That's a huge, and we want to be thoughtful about who we hire because we want the best. And then we would need to think about the spaces. So we currently have an empty-ish upstairs that has early learning spaces dedicated, but we don't have a funding source right now to make them into classrooms. So that's a consideration. Was that the nice way to say it, Chase? And then we have the logistics of getting people in and out of the building. So I think there's solutions to those things, but if you asked me how soon could I scale 5 or 6 more classrooms at early learning school, I would say it would need to be a 3 to 5 year plan.
Oh, okay.
Just because I think we would need to, we are not currently turning anyone away. We may not be giving them their first choice, which leads them to go somewhere else.
Got it.
But we're not, besides full day. In our part-day preschool, we have a preschool option that we can offer somebody. It might not be what they want.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
So sometimes there's that.
Yeah.
I only want mornings, or I only want full day.
Right.
That might not be what's available right now.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Thank you.
All right. Thank you again, Michelle. Thank you, managers.
Yeah.
We appreciate all that you do. Again.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the audience opportunity to address the board. Amy, I don't think we have anybody today, so we'll move on. All right. Moving on to administrative reports and recommendations. There are no reports from the superintendent's office and teaching and learning tonight, but we do have financial reports presented by Executive Director of Finance and Operations, Scott Lesage. Scott.
Perfect. Thank you, Board Chair Sahoni, board members, and Superintendent Anderson. If you guys don't mind, I'll just go from here today. I promise I don't have 50 slides and it won't take 2 hours. So I just looked at Dana and said, do you think I could just go from here? So yeah, she asked me how long I was going to be tonight. So just kind of, these are obviously the reports that come to the board on a monthly basis. So nothing really to highlight. Obviously, we're through 11 months of the fiscal year. As you can see, I'll just go through a few things on the revenue that's up there right now. On our 2 biggest revenue sources, we're right in line with prior years and where we expected. Federal aids, I know I mentioned this last month, but we'll have a big receivable on those. We're just being super careful how we draw those because it's a challenge to have to reverse any of those with the state if we would have any adjustments at year end. So that will be a receivable for us for FY24. Food service revenue, if you recall last month, that was down. We received those payments that were mentioned at last month's meeting. Community service fund is actually up above forecast, just like it has been the last several years. Jenny obviously does a fantastic job with that program, and they're seeing a lot of growth and success. If we go down to the expenditures, scroll. I don't think I have the power, do I? There we go. Perfect. All right. If we look at our biggest areas, salary and benefits and purchase services, salaries and benefits are right in line with what expectations are. Salaries are right in line with prior year. Benefits, obviously based on our adjustment from the revised budget, are right in line with what we believe they're going to end. I know Director of Finance David Draskovich mentioned at our CFAC meeting last week that we are very, very close, obviously, as the fiscal year winds down and those last payrolls hit. Us accounting nerds log right in the system to see where we're ending up versus budget. So we're feeling really confident with that. Purchase services and capital expenditures kind of go hand in hand. It depends on where we're coding the invoices that get in. That's also where our transportation is and some of our other services. And so those can vary depending on when we're getting those invoices. If you look down to the food service fund, they are right on par with where they were 2 years ago, in alignment with expectations. Community service fund is slightly down in their expenditures, but I would argue that's based on the fact that they're above their projection on revenue, so they're probably benefiting from a little bit of economies of scale. And then finally, the debt service fund, that's pretty self-explanatory. And then finally, on the last document, this is just basically, I know it says it's our investment summary, but this is the time of year, and I know Director of Finance Draskovich mentioned this last month, but in May and June are when we get two of our huge property tax payments. So I know in May we received $20.8 million, and in June on 6/5/24 we received $25.3 million, and the remaining of those dollars for the current year will come in October and November. So this is a time that we do sit with a lot of cash, and then it depletes throughout the year. So any questions at all on any of the reports?
Thank you, Scott. Any questions? I have one, Scott. If you go back to the expenditure statement.
Yep.
Right there. Maybe I don't understand this stuff, but the construction fund, there are no numbers for the year to date. There is no comparison.
Yeah, we've never had that in there. We've talked about it a lot, and I know that's been asked at the board in the past. Because it's so variable, it wouldn't really do it justice to compare year over year. In a lot of ways, I would argue it's like our purchase services and capital expenditures. It all depends on the time of year that we could take on a project that we're not aware of. It could come up middle of the year. So it varies so significantly that we've never put those on, but we absolutely could look at that in the future if you'd like.
Okay. And then the other question I have is about the revenues, federal numbers. Are they always going to look like this in every statement? We are still going to keep getting
that's what I was kind of alluding
future time.
It won't be the case next year. So a big reason for this is because of the CARES dollars, and we're shifting those around to use them for eligible expenditures. And so, like I mentioned, the worst thing that we could do from my perspective is to draw those down because we have to have them spent before we can draw on them. And if there's any shifts, if we do any payroll adjustments, we would then have to basically go to the state and say, hey, we need to pay you back some of that money, or we need to adjust it. And also, in addition to that, is the complexity of MDE switch systems this year. So everybody kind of sat tight all year because you couldn't even draw on prior year funds, which you always draw first to spend down before you go to current year funds. So it was just kind of a complex year. So I absolutely don't think that will be the norm going forward. We absolutely hope it won't. And if you recall from last month, the budget presentation, our federal budget is much, much smaller this coming year. So thank you. Great question.
Yep. Thank you.
Hey, Scott, can you remind me on this slide, so the tax dollars that have come in, those have already been budgeted for, right? This is just the cash coming in.
Yeah, this is basically our cash position. Have nothing to do with budget or anything. Yep. It
be baked in. This is just the cash coming in.
Yes.
On interest.
Perfect. Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Right. There are no other questions. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the Human Resource Services reports presented by Executive Director Stacy Voss. Stacy has 2 items for board approval. First, we have a recommendation to approve the salary schedule and handbook changes for the unaffiliated staff. Stacy, would you like to tell us a little bit more about this?
Absolutely. Good evening, school board members, Superintendent Anderson. Before you this evening, I do have the unaffiliated salary schedule and handbook changes for you to review. A summary of the language changes are for the unaffiliated staff, levels 1 through 9. Unaffiliated staff, as you may or may not know, is just any of our staff that is not covered by a recognized bargaining unit. This recommendation includes a salary schedule improvement of a 1.5% for the 24-25 fiscal year. This recommendation is within the district's budget parameters. Changes were made in the following areas: an increase of vacation days for our level 2 employees, 403B contribution eligibility in year 1 for our employees in levels 2 and 3. The early retirement incentive is sunsetting for our level 3 employees, and we added career increments to our unaffiliated levels 7, 8, and 9 to be more in alignment with our principal contracts. The Human Resources Board Committee has reviewed the recommended changes, and the proposed recommendations are before you this evening. Thank you.
Colleagues, the recommended action is to approve the 2024-25 salary schedule and handbook for the unaffiliated positions as presented. Is there a motion?
I so move.
I second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I would like to.
No.
If I can clarify some things. I printed out unaffiliated salary schedule. So based on, and I clarified some questions. I got some answers today, but I still have some questions. First of all, it's about vacation time. Why we decided to move from to change vacation time? To be honest, when you calculate vacation time and sick days in many, like if private businesses, they do not get that amount. It's pretty generous, and especially when we're in a cost containment, it sounds quite generous, and we can use money somewhere else, like, for example, thinking about class sizes.
So really good question. At a first glance, looking at why would we offer more vacation time to our employees, please note that that was just for our level 2 employees. So that is, I believe, how many employees is that? 18 of our support staff. They were originally receiving 12 days, and we just bumped that up to 15. What you have to remember with unaffiliated employees is we don't have subs. People can't do our jobs if we're not there. So even though we're extending their vacation days, it doesn't necessarily cost the district any additional funds because there are not substitutes in place for those employees. And the sick leave along with vacation, they're for 2 definitely different purposes. And while I don't disagree with your interest in exploring PTO in an organization as large as ours, that is a considerable lift. Our teachers, the WEA Association, in their contract that we negotiated last summer, they have a memorandum of understanding that outlines their interest in exploring what PTO may look like. And so we will be taking that on, but from my perspective, it makes a lot of sense to start with our largest bargaining unit, because then we could put things into place, and then I would need to negotiate those changes with all of our other bargaining units. And once that was in place, our unaffiliated employees, of course, would come along as we make those changes. But we always need to be intentional in regards to significant changes that we make like that. In addition, right now with the earn sick and safe time, we have to have the time separate just because of how we're set up. And our current sick leave allocations are in alignment with those expectations. So I could see where you would wonder why we would be offering that time off, but some of that time off is mandated. And some of it is, our employees deserve a break, they deserve a vacation. And in an effort to recruit and retain our employees, we need to make sure that we are offering them those things that make this a good work environment. You may or may not know I send out an email prior to creating the unaffiliated handbook changes, and I did have probably 2 or 3 of our level 2 employees reach out to me requesting that I review and look into the number of vacation days that they have.
Thank you. I have to admit that I originally missed that it is just concerning level 1 and 2, and looks like at level 1 we don't have anybody. Second concern is about the amount of salary increases. Yes, it is showing as if it is 1.5% increase, but when you factor in step increases, the people receive the actual impact will be between over 3% and even all the way to 5%. So to be honest, I think that as a taxpayer, it will be very useful to see how much in total it is costing us. I mean, I'm just trying to ask to be transparent so that we as a public or as taxpayers can see how much it's actually cost. Because when you calculate from step by step, the increase will be even 5%.
Correct. And those are considered roll-up costs. And so those costs are automatically assumed into the costing model. So, and again, we have a 7-step salary schedule. So every year we roll up. So if you're in year 1 as an employee and you roll up to year 2, that is automatically calculated in the costing model. What employees are interested in knowing, because their step up as a part of the salary schedule is assumed, everyone's interested in the new money. So that is the percentage that is reported to the board if I'm asked. That's what I report to our organizations in regards to the settlement packages that we have negotiated with any of our bargaining units. So when I reported on the teachers, it was a 2 and a 2.3% increase of new money, but because they have a 30-step salary schedule, the costing model just rolled up those costs as teachers moved from one step to the next, or even from one lane to the next, because they also have the added complexity of they receive additional monies for credits that they acquire. And it is complicated to explain all of the layers of an overall salary package. But you are correct that some of our employees would have more of a 5%. I think actually the average improvement, what was it? Was a 3.54 percentage package overall. But I think I was just saying that what the average for the dollar increases per FTE was about $5,000. And that takes into consideration the roll up and the new money on the salary schedule.
I understand it is complex, and trust me, for me, it's even more complex. I had to sit down and calculate and figure it out. My asking is, let's say that if employees are interested just to see what percentage, fine, but it will be nice for public to see how much it is actually costing after all the increases. Then based on that, even for me, for example, I will vote based on what I see. Versus for me, I had to spend quite a bit of time actually calculating and checking I think that it'll be more transparent. That's all what I'm trying to ask.
And that's just fine. We welcome the questions. Thank you.
Anyone else have question, comments? If not, thank you. I'm sorry, you have, yeah. Oh, you said, okay. So this is a roll call vote. If the clerk would please call the roll.
Dan Ginestra,
Aye.
Sarah Johansson,
Yes.
Paris Bende,
Yes.
Sheila Pryor, yes. Heidi Cater,
Yes.
Valentina Ayers,
As I stated, because of what I stated, I am voting no.
Okay.
Milan Sahoni,
Yes, thank you, and the motion carries. Thank you. All right, we move on to the next item, and this is a recommendation again from Human Resources to approve the supplemental salaries in several categories. Stacy, would you like to go over the recommendations for the board?
Yes. Thank you, Board Chair, members of the board. This is the annual review of supplemental salaries for the 24-25 school year. Again, these are wages that are not covered under a bargaining unit, nor were they covered under the unaffiliated handbook. So it is recommended that the board approve the pay rates for the 24-25 school year, which includes an increase of pay for our reserve teachers. Represents a $5 increase in pay for level 1 substitutes and a $10 increase in pay for level 2 substitutes and long-term reserves for the 24-25 school year. The $5 and the $10 pay increases helps us to remain competitive with our West Metro neighboring districts. The technology department, our casual employees, we updated the high school student rate to meet minimum wage requirements for the 24-25 school year and a 70-cent increase to the hourly cap for the second tier of high school student tech workers. Our classified staff substitute pay guidelines. Changes include updating the food service subrate to the food service assistant rate and an increase for the RN and LPN health office subs that will be based on the administrative professional paraprofessional contract settlement. All other rates are aligned with the amounts in the identified contracts consistent with prior years. There will be no changes to our activity fund wages. For community education service hourly rates, we represent a 3% pay increase for facility attendants for the 24-25 school year and have removed positions that no longer exist. For early learning school, which is formerly known as Peppermint Fence, please note that we still have a few Peppermint Fence instructors who are not currently covered under our community education contract. And so as we sunset their positions, we still are allowing for increases in their rates pay. So we are asking that you approve a 1% pay increase for those employees. And then for our Wayzata Kids site managers, we are in alignment with the unaffiliated new money salary increase of a 1.5 pay increase for their services as well. Thank you.
Colleagues, the recommended action is to approve the 2024-25 supplemental salaries as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please take a roll call vote?
Heidi Cater,
Yes.
Valentina Ayers,
Yes.
Dan Ginestra,
Yes.
Sarah Johansson,
Yes.
Paris Bende,
Yes.
Sheila Pryor, yes. Milan Sahoni.
Yes, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is other board action, and Dr. Anderson will recommend approval of the attendance area guiding change document, which Dr. Ray Queener had presented at the last board meeting, work session, I think it was, of TeamWorks. Dr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So included in this document, as was referenced to at the work session on June 24th, is the guiding change document that was put together through input from our strategy leadership team and also the school board at the work session. And the document included some of the process parameters and the work that's before us, and also the guiding change document. So as was indicated at the June 24th work session, we shared that we'd be bringing it back for board action tonight on July 8th for moving forward. This will serve as guidance as we move through the process. I will just read what's on the script here. Starting with that second paragraph, since I kind of covered the first part. Wayzata Public Schools has the need to address and make plans for growing enrollment and changing school capacity for elementary schools, middle schools, and the high school. TeamWorks International, which is our consulting company of whom Ray Queener, who was here last month, represents, will conduct an enrollment and housing study, which will include a second phase for determining optimal school attendance areas, which will be put in place or implemented with the 25-26 school year. Incorporated within this larger document is the guiding change document. That's the document that I referenced before that was reviewed as a guide for moving forward with this project taking place the summer of 2024 through December 2024, when it is expected that the school board action will be taken on school attendance areas. So the recommended action is to approve the guiding change document, which is included in the packet.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. Colleagues, the recommended action then again is to approve the attendance area guiding change document as presented by Dr. Anderson. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please take the roll call vote?
Paris Bende,
Yes.
Sheila Pryor, yes. Heidi Cater,
Yes.
Valentina Ayers,
Yes.
Dan Ginestra,
Yes.
Sarah Johansson,
Yes.
Milan Sahoni.
Yes, thank you. The motion carries unanimously. The final item on the agenda is board reports. This section of the agenda provides an opportunity for board members to update fellow board members on school board related work or to make announcements of interest to the public. I believe the Director Ginestra has a report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had the great privilege of attending the Get on the Bus event several weeks ago, as sponsored by Intermediate School District 287. We visited two summer education schools in the West Metro that dealt in a variety of services, mostly in a summer camp setting. We had all sorts of very interesting coursework and classes, early problem solvers, young writers, even a club on Harry Potter. It was very diverse and certainly very interesting. I was joined by our chair, Dr. Sahoni, for a very interesting visit. I want to thank Drs. Allen, Rogers, and Voss for their stewardship of the program, leadership, and mentorship of all of us during the process. It was a very in-depth and conclusive visit, as well as thanks to our site managers at those respective locations for all their hard work in shepherding these students along and the programming along and making sure the kids have adequate transportation opportunities and everything under and above. In addition, at our June 27th meeting, we approved our budget at District 287. So my gratitude to Brian Schultz, our Director of Finance, and Gloria Wilder, who's our Finance Manager. So we have our budget completed, as is the case here. I'm sure Mr. Lesage here is very happy to smile upon that. So really thank you to our 287 team for all their leadership and allowing us the opportunity to view what all is going on this summer at the intermediate. So with that, I yield back to the chair.
Thank you. I was also very fortunate to attend that bus ride. It was a very hot and humid day, but it was 4 hours worth spent. There were kids that were learning how to produce movies. There were kids that were learning how to write poetries. There were kids that learned how to play the music. These were very, very young kids. These were not, I think they were all elementary school kids, right? Yes, sir. Okay. Yeah, not very old, but they were all very talented and gifted. So thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to doing that next year again. Any other board reports, colleagues? If not, our next board work session will be held on Monday, July 22nd at 4 p.m. This concludes the Wayzata Public Schools regular board meeting. I want to thank everyone for their participation in a process that is focused on students in our district. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. The time is now 8:15. The Wayzata Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting for Monday, July 8th, 2024 is adjourned.